Hi, it's Jenny. It's time to wrap up the reading in January of 2014. No, of 2015. It's hard to remember what year it is. So yeah, here we go. So I want to talk to you about what I read in January of 2015. I read a total of 7 books, of which 6 of them were books, either review copies or books that I purchased myself. One was a library book, so 6 of them can be counted towards me somehow acquiring a new book. So yeah, I'll show you what I read and tell you a bit about them, and seeing that I want to try and get some diverse reading in, that is, yeah, I'll tell you more about that in another video. Hopefully that will be up before this one, so you understand what I mean. First off, I started this one in December last year. It's Wings of Glass by Sofie Trin Johansson. It's a Swedish book, written by a Swedish author, and it takes place in the north of Sweden. This is the second book in a trilogy. That trilogy is called the Half-Blood trilogy, I think, if I translate it, because the first book is called Half-Blood. It's about vampires and angels and half-bloods. The girl on the front, on the cover, is called Aveline, or Evelyn, maybe if you pronounce it English-wise. She's the main character of the trilogy, and in the first book she finds out that she's a half-blood, and she finds out that her life is threatened because her father, who is a vampire, wants to kill her. Her mother was a human, but she died, unfortunately. So a vampire that wants to save Evelyn comes and takes her away from her foster parents. She's about 20. She's at the beginning of her 20s, by the way. And in this part they have settled at the vampire's secret place up north in Sweden. And yeah, not to tell you too much about it, because yeah, you probably can't read it, unfortunately. This book was the only reason I actually kept on reading this one, was because I have the third part in the trilogy as well as a review copy, which this one also was. The first 100 pages, Evelyn, who is in her 20s, she was like a 3-year-old emotionally, and that was so annoying to read. As I said, I only kept reading because of that I have the third book and want to read that one as well, because it's a review copy. But I'm glad now that I actually finished the book, because it got better. It got as good as a weak 3 stars instead of only 2. The cliffhanger in this book was to die for, almost. So I will be picking up the third one hopefully in March or April, if nothing else happens. So yeah, Wings of Glass by Sofie Trin Johansson, 3 weak stars. Then there was a year-a-thon and Powder Books 12. During that one I read A Novel Bookstore by Laurence Cosset. I won't be telling you anything about it. I will link the wrap-up where I did a review of this book. I gave it 3 stars, that much I can tell you. Then, when I finished that one, I picked up The Poison Apples by Lily Archer. I didn't finish it during the readathons, so now I'll tell you a bit about them. About it, sorry. It's a, I think it's a tween YA book. It's about 3 girls. They are 13, 14, something like that, I think. 13, I think they were. They called Alice, Rena and Molly. All 3 of them have parents who are divorced, and their fathers have found a new woman who, or rather all 3 of the new women seem to be hating the girls. The girls are from 3 different families. Alice, her mom died in cancer, unfortunately, and the new stepmom sends her off to a boarding school in the middle of nowhere. It's called, in Massachusetts, sorry. And Rena is an Indian or Pakistan girl, I don't remember, sorry, whose father marries a very American, sorry, woman who's 28 years younger than him, so they hate her. Rena and her brother, older brother, both get sent off to this boarding school in Massachusetts. I think it's called something like Putnam Mount McKinsey or something like that. Molly, on the other hand, comes from a poor family and who lives in Massachusetts, and although her new stepmom doesn't like her as much, because Molly is a bookworm and her stepmom was a cheerleader type woman, Molly, on the other hand, sort of gets a scholarship to go to this school because she really, really, really wants to. So yeah, these three girls meet up at the boarding school, and they sort of start to find each other and find the things they have in common, and they form the club called the Poison Apples because they want to take back the power from their dad's new wives, sort of. So they form a plan to almost eliminate the wives. But this is also a coming of age story. I would say, it's a book that talks a lot about friendship and how different people can have things in common and find each other and be friends. So I really recommend it. It was at the beginning. It was a slow start, but it drags you in, sort of. So I thought it was a 2 stars at the beginning, but then it grew on me, and I gave it 3 strong stars at the end. I really recommend it. It's an easy read. It's 200 something pages. Oh, sorry, almost 300. But yeah, it's a very easy read, so pick it up. Whoa! It flew. Then I picked up a children's book that unfortunately don't exist in English. It's the Ice God by Martin Widmark. It's the 6th part in the series called Halvdan Viking. Yeah, it's Christmas, and Halvdan and Meja, the girl in the story, They are supposed to be celebrated because they came home, and yeah, sort of. And there comes a sled on the ice with horses, and on it sits a man with a white beard. I thought that the last part in this series were the last one, because the frame story sort of got solved. But apparently this is not the last part either. There will be at least a 7th installment in this series, which I think is very strange, because this one was rather boring. I only gave it 2 stars, unfortunately. Yeah, I won't be telling you too much about it. Then I picked up another... Yeah, sorry. So this book takes place in Paris, in France, and it's written by a French woman. This one takes place in the US, and it's written under a pseudonym, under a taken name. I think she's from the US, and this is written by a Swede, and takes place in Sweden. So yeah, then I picked up another book that I think only exists in Swedish. No, I think it's translated into Danish, actually. It's called Rabbit Heart, and it takes place in Gothenburg in Sweden, and it's written by a Swedish author, Christine Ljungqvist. This is a book about 2 twin sisters who's 17 years old. They are sort of having connections to the dead. One of them borrows her voice and to the dead, and the other one can see the dead and get pictures from the dead, actually. They sneak off to the parents are divorced, and they sneak off to their dad's apartment during the summer when he's in Thailand with his new girlfriend, and they live their lives there for about 4 weeks. During these 4 weeks they become a part of a medial group. I say medial, or New Age group, sort of, that are trying to find a missing 5-year-old called Wilma. She's been missing for a couple of months, and the cops haven't found her, the police haven't been able to find her, and stuff like that. And this group is supposed to try and find her through the New Agey stuff. This book was... I only read it because I had the sort of the continuation of this. It's a standalone continuation, sort of this book. I have that one as a review copy, so I wanted to have this one under my belt before I read that one. So that's the only reason why I finished this one. I gave it 1 star because several times I thought about giving up this one and not finishing it, because the characters and the story just flew over my head. I did understand it, but it didn't draw me in as I want books to do. It was rather boring, and yeah, I don't have much more to say. So Rabbit Heart by Christine Ljungqvist, a Swedish book that takes place in Sweden. Then Ribset round 3 happened, and I picked up Agreements. It's also a Swedish book by a Swedish author. It takes place in Sweden, France. So it's a bit diverse, at least. It's by Simone Arnstedt. It takes place in the 1880s. I gave this 2 stars. I thought it was a bit slow. But if you want to know more about this, I will link my wrap-up for Ribset round 4 down in the description box, so you can check it out. Then during Ribset I started this book. It's Honor by Elif Shafak. I finished it on the 31st of January, and I'm very pleased with that. This is also a book that sneaks up on you. It was very scattered in the beginning. but then when the puzzle piece it starts to come to place or gets placed on the board, or rather in the story, then it's the best book I read during this month. I gave it 4 stars. This book takes mostly place in the 1970s in London. The family is a is a immigrant family. The mother is from somewhere near Euphrates, the river, and the father is from Istanbul. And the story starts off with you getting to know that a son murdered his mother, and he gets out of jail and gets picked up by his sister. The son is called Iskender, which means honor, which is the title of the book. The mom is named Pembe, and the daughter is named Esma. So that's the information you get in the first chapter, or first and second chapter, that he murdered his mother, and yeah. Then you sort of get thrown back in time and you get to know Pembe and her family from the time that she got born. She was born, sorry. Trouble finding the words. And you get to follow, it jumps back and forth in time. You get to follow Iskender and Esma and their younger brother Yunus when they grow up. In Esma and Iskender start their lives in Istanbul, then they move to London, and there Yunus is born. And you get to follow their lives there during that time, and you get to follow Pembe and her twin sister and their 6 other sisters in their family, in their little village in I don't know what that country is called. It's a country that don't exist. I don't know what it's called in English. Sorry. It's Kurdistan. Kurdistan in Kurdistan, maybe. If you make it more English through the Swedish word. But yeah. So the family, Pembe and her family, are Muslim. That is one of the main things. It is a book about murder due to honor. But it's a very interesting book because it made me irritated and frustrated about myself because of my thoughts because I got frustrated at the thought process and at the Muslims in this book, their thoughts about honor and shame, and yeah. So that I got frustrated about that, and because of that I got frustrated at myself because of my thoughts of that. Yeah, it's a bit it's a bit what's it called? Chaotic. But yeah, it's a very interesting book, and it draws you in, and it's a very slow book. But you really get to know the characters, and yeah, I really liked it at the end. I gave it 4 stars and really recommend it. It was the best book of this month. So yeah. So I read 7 books in total. Here they are. Wow, whoa. Hope you got some tips. Unfortunately, a lot of them were Swedish books in Swedish. But that's life. So yeah, I don't have much more to say. I think this has gone on too long, I'm suspecting that it's gone on too long, this video. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!